on that? All right, there's always that dispute. I love that. Okay, but here's what we need to understand. You've got a phone and it's got a central processing unit. That's the hardware. The human brain, that's the hardware. Okay, the central processing unit is the hardware. The software is the programming. iOS, whatever number we're on, 14, 24, 94, whatever. Okay, Android, I don't even know what the hell you guys deal with as far as software, but I guess it's like Android software. Point of the matter is, in order for a phone or a computer or whatever to execute, it needs two main components. It needs a central processing unit, the hardware, and it needs the software. The software is housed in the hardware, and what the software is pre-programming for commands of execution. The same thing happens with a human being. When a human being gives you a response and you perceive that to be an objection, a buy signal, an obstacle, whatever the case may be, what you have to understand is that's pre-programmed in for a reason. So we're going to look at so expensive. Why is solar so expensive? Or it's too expensive? Okay. One of the first things you have to understand about any sort of sales resistance is, number one, you have to get clarity. Okay, write that down. You have to get clarity. The number one problem I see with salespeople, I don't train salespeople, I train highly influential communicators. People that understand the value of a product or a service that they sell, and they want to learn how to communicate the value opportunity to the marketplace such that people go, I need that, I want that. Salespeople try and use trickery, NEPQ, NLP, ABC, this, that, the other thing, script this, script that. Okay. I don't give you guys scripts. I give you guys the opportunity to be more effective communicators that will influence people based off of value that you propose. Salespeople are going to use, I hate to use names, but Andy Elliott's one of them. I'm not a big fan, right? A lot of his things are all scripts, and they just tell people what they're supposed to think right off the bat. That is wrong. Okay, that is wrong. Or better yet, I can't say that is wrong. I'll say it's good, but there's better. Okay, and I think that's a journey we should all be on, is looking for ways to be better. Good, there's a great book. Collins is his last name. I forget his first name. But it says, good is the enemy of great. Or the book's name is Good to Great. The concept is good is the enemy of great. Right? And sometimes what happens in sales is, over the years, we do what Jim Collins, thank you, Dejan, or Dayon. We always do what we've always done, but the reality is all we're doing is propagating stuff from like the 1970s and 1980s. And here we are in 2024, where nothing's the same that it was 4 years ago. And yet we're using tactics from the 70s and the 80s. Okay? So to understand objections, you got to get clarity. Now, what's the clarity we need to get on when somebody says it's too expensive?
Compared that is cheaper, but it's still way cheaper than the amount that you're going to pay to.
Statement. Here's the problem, guys. You got to be careful. Salespeople will make statements. They'll tell you something. Write this down. Okay. People don't like to be sold or told. And the second you go into sell and tell, people perceive you to be a salesperson, and that's when they shut down. There's a time and place for telling somebody something. But remember, we're on step one. You got to get clarity first. You got to understand what's in their mind, because that's what's programmed in, as opposed to trying to program in what needs to be in their mind.
Okay. So I would say, compared to what?
Exactly. Solar's too expensive. Compared to what? Right? So what are they comparing it to? If they're comparing it to their utility company, that's an easy conversation, right? We talked about that a few minutes ago. How solar through inflation, or excuse me, electricity through inflation measured by CPI.org. You can't argue with the numbers on CPI.org. Right? That's the government's way of measuring inflation through the four core components of inflation, electricity, energy being one of them. It's always gone up. So if they say it's too expensive and you're like, compared to what? And they're like, well, compared to my utility company right now.
Well, I also hear that it's also, yes, even if you do a bill swap and it's more, even if it's less expensive, the fact that they have that loan added on to their current debt to income ratio.
Okay. We'll handle that in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay.
That to me is just a throw in to, you know, make it more difficult for you. Most people have no clue what their debt to income ratio is. Most people don't even have any clue. Any of you guys have sold, where's Aaron? Don't tell me he jumped off. Okay. Some of you guys that have sold considerable amounts, my man JC's on here, right? He can tell you if you've spoken to enough people and you do a qualifying sales as a process, right? Where you first connect and then you explore and then you qualify. And in your qualifying, what you should be asking people on the front end is, what's your credit score? And if you do that in your sales cycle process, what you're going to realize is 9 times out of 10, 90% of the people have no idea what their credit score is. Right? So I don't buy the BS about, oh, it's going to affect my debt to income. So is that credit card at 23% that's overcharged and locked down. How do I know? I know a lot of people in credit repair. And that's a booming business right now. Some of you guys are in it. You want to know why? Because Americans don't care about their credit. So don't feed me the BS about it's going to affect your debt to income. Right? That's 1% of the population. Now, we don't say that to the marketplace. I'm just talking to you guys, you know, person to person of understanding. But we got to look at when somebody says solar's too expensive, you always have to get clarity first. Compared to what? What are they comparing it to? Because if you think they're comparing it to their utility company, but they may be comparing it to when they first explored solar 3 years ago, okay? Because when I bought solar 3 years ago, I promise you the system that I have today is more expensive than it was 3 years ago. And guess what? It's going to be more expensive 3 years from now. You know what else is also going to be more expensive 3 years from now? Your utility company. Do you know what, you know, and this is where you can start opening people's minds to the value propositions that we talked about. Well, if solar's too expensive compared to what? Let's say my utility company. Okay, great. What are you paying right now? And maybe you've gone through the process through your, you know, consultation that you've done where you've looked at their utility bill. You've done the math that, you know, your mentors have taught you how to do via videos and that sort of thing, where you take their total bill and you divide it by how many kilowatt hours they use that month. And that's your real kilowatt hour rate. And let's say it's 17 cents per kilowatt, right? And the solar that you're trying to sell them is 19 cents per kilowatt. Well, now you got to start doing a past and future pacing. Okay, what did you pay 3 years ago? Well, I have no idea. Do you think it was the same? Knowing that inflation affects electricity and it's always gone up, do you think you paid the same 3 years ago? No, right? Nick's like, no, that just doesn't make sense. All right. Do you think you're going to pay the same 3 years from now? I mean, think about it. We're in a hyperinflationary society today. When's that going to end? Anybody have any clue? We have no idea. So if we're in hyperinflation, we have no idea when it's going to end. We know hyperinflation is going to continue until there's an outside force. Law of thermodynamics tells us that what? An object in motion tends to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Well, that's what inflation is. It's going to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. What's the outside force that's going to change the hyperinflation related to energy?
Interest rates.
Cost of energy. Cost of energy, meaning if they're comparing it to their utility company is powered by what? The big bad fossil fuels, right? Oil, right? Why did energy skyrocket? Well, we have an administration, irrespective of what you believe about the administration right now, that a couple of years ago shut down a pipeline that caused us to be at the behest of other countries supplying us that critical raw material. That's why the cost went up. So unless something changes in that regard, your electric is going to continue to go up at a rate that is above average. What is average? What's the historical average of electricity rising over a sustained period of time?
Is it 5 to 7%?
It's about 3.5 to 4%. Guys, this is stuff you need to know, right? This is how you logically present to people the ability to make decisions that solar is not too expensive, or why is it so expensive? Because when we talk about the value proposition of lower fixed end date versus higher variable in perpetuity, what you're showing them is it may be more expensive than your utility company right now, but over a long play where you're higher, which means higher variable, at any time they can change it, and they always will. Right now we're in hyperinflation. It's going to constantly go up. And while it's constantly going up, your solar bill is staying the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got something to add.
Hold on 1 second. Okay. So when you're getting clarity, comparing to what? That's why that question's so vital, is you have to know what are they comparing it to. If they compare it to the utility company, that's the conversation. Concepts to conversations. That's how you become a master in influence, guys. Concepts to conversations. You take a concept, your 4 value proposition concepts, and you shape it into a conversation. And here's how you know you've done it well. It's when someone goes, huh, I never thought about that. And when they say that, because they will say that to you, you go, well, what else haven't you thought about? Okay. Dayon, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I think what's also on people's mind is that they are reluctant to get into a 25-year commitment. And you already talked about that you are already in a 25-year commitment for your mortgage.
All right.
So that's part and parcel, in my opinion, of it's too expensive.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to tell you be careful. Okay. The number one thing that I teach people in my coaching programs is the most dangerous thing you can do in proverbial sales is to think that you think like they think. Let me say that again. The most dangerous thing you can do is to think, you have thoughts that you think like they think. Meaning, when you say, I think people's concerns are, what you're doing is thinking that you think like they think. Never do that. Never do that. That only becomes valuable, that conversation becomes valuable when you do step 1, which is what? Get clarity. If somebody presents to you like, hey, I don't want to have to commit to another 25-year loan. Right? So this is why I say step 1 is always get clarity. No matter what people tell you, solar's the most ridiculous thing ever. Okay, what is it about solar that makes you think it's the most ridiculous thing ever? Okay, when you get clarity and they tell you what's going on in their brain, then you can handle it with your concepts that you shape into a conversation. Does this make sense, guys? All right. So when we look at solar's too expensive, well, compared to what? What are you comparing it to? I'm comparing it to where solar was at 3 years ago, or the last time I looked into solar. Why is it so much more expensive now? Well, unfortunately, have you heard of the concept of inflation? Is there anything inflation hasn't affected over the last 3 years? No. So can we say that inflation's affected cost of products? Can we say that inflation has affected cost of labor? Right? All those things that are critical to selling solar. Has inflation affected the cost of borrowing money? Say yes. Has inflation affected car sales, home sales, grocery sales? So when they say it's too expensive compared to what? Well, where it was 3 years ago. Everything's more expensive than where it was 3 years ago. Bless you. You're welcome. Okay. So what you got to help them understand is that is in a, we can't just leave like, oh, everything's more expensive. So now here we are. Well, here's the thing that we need to understand. You know what else was more expensive 3 years ago? Your utility rate. You know what the difference between solar right now and your utility company is? Just like it was more expensive 3 years ago, it's going to be more expensive 3 years from now. But if you lock in right now, we can lock in this rate. And the one thing that's guaranteed is your utility company will continue to go up. It's that lower fixed end date. What does that mean? Lower rate. It's not maybe lower. It's not necessarily lower today, but over a sustained period of time. How long you plan on owning this house? Possibly 10 years. This is my forever home. I might retire here, whatever the case may be. 7 years, 5 years for all I know. Well, guess what? What you lock in right now over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to be lower and it's going to be fixed. You'll never pay any more. This is just like the concept of buying a home and getting a mortgage. Because the alternative is renting and quote unquote throwing money away, or better yet, being subjected to a landlord who's going to do what? Raise your rent every year. So you buy your own home, you get the tax incentives, you feel a sense of ownership when in reality you don't really own it. How do I know? Don't pay your taxes next year. Tell me who owns your house after that. Okay? But they give you a sense of ownership. And really what you own is, in 5, 7, 10 years, you need a new roof, you need a new HVAC unit. So you got all these expenses, but yet we still think owning a house is more what? Is a better logical decision than renting it from somebody else. It's the quote unquote American dream. Hey, guys, write this down. I like saying this. You may not like it, but I like saying this. You know what solar is? It's the American dream 2.0. It's the American dream 2.0. Because the American dream is to what? Own your own house. Why? In real estate, I've been in real estate almost 20 years now, guys. For the last 10 years, I've taught real estate agents at a high level. You know what I teach them? The concept of selling real estate is the understanding that people don't buy and sell homes. They buy and sell lifestyles, right? And understanding that home ownership is about you get to control the lifestyle that you want to live through the freedoms of the Constitution of the United States of America. They may be under attack, but they're still alive. Solar is the American Dream 2.0, because now not only can you own your own home and drive your own lifestyle, you can now own the electricity that powers your home. And then you can start integrating in the other concepts of some of the other value propositions. So when somebody goes, it's too expensive, and I start to explain that to them, then I go, is it really too expensive? Or did you just have a narrow understanding of what solar really is for a homeowner today? Is that cool? We good with that? Anybody have any questions or comments about too expensive? Does anybody still believe solar's too expensive?
No, that was really great. Thank you. And the only question that I have is that you don't even get to a point where they just say not interested. So yeah. I guess that's a different one. So
what are you not interested in? That's when somebody says, and that's one of the objections you guys didn't throw out. I'm not interested. Okay, out of curiosity, what are you not interested in? I'm not interested in solar. What specifically about solar are you not interested in? Because then you're going to get to the core, right? Which is going to probably be one of these. I have core 4 objections. We can talk about it next week. But basically, your core 4 objections are what? Time, interest, money, and spouse. Oh, I got to talk to my spouse. Oh, it's too expensive. I'm not interested. I don't have time. Those two kind of go together. Right? Okay. Any other questions or comments on too expensive? We'll move to bad experience. All right, cool. So you got some concept, you got some content that you guys can work with on that. Now, we talk about perception of bad experience. Step one is what? So let me back up for a second. What are we actually hearing from the marketplace? What's the actual statements people are saying that allude to it's a bad experience because the neighbor chose the wrong company?
So the company went under. Now they don't have any support or service.
Okay. But what is somebody saying to us exactly that we're alluding to? Okay, this is a bad experience comparison.
My friend's house burned down.
My friend's house burned down because
Yeah. That's what they claim. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting one. We can handle that
I
one.
think a lot of reps just give a bad expectation to the customer of what's going to happen after solar, meaning, okay, your bill's going to go to zero, or, you know, and they just give them a bad expectation of what's actually going to happen.
Robert, I am so glad you said that, my friend. Okay, I am so glad you said that. Guys, get that effing bill swap language out of your language. You're not swapping a bill. You want to know why? Because it's not happening. Because by law, let's be very clear about something, guys. By United States law, you have to be attached to the utility company. And if you are attached to the utility company, I promise you one thing, you're getting a bill. You may not be paying for your electricity, but you will be paying what? A connection charge, a customer charge, some sort of charge. So
Even if it's only $5, Chris.
yeah. And you know, when you're sitting there telling people it's a bill swap, exactly what Robert just said is what is upsetting people in the marketplace. Okay. Or we're going to eliminate your electric bill. No, you're not. You're lying. Why am I still getting? Well, like I told you, it's the, you know, you still are connected to the utility company, blah, blah, blah. Right. First of all, you got to set proper expectations in sales. Okay. And if you're going to circumvent, and I think it was like 2 weeks ago in our last session, we talked about this, where solar salespeople, it's not that they necessarily lie, they're just not fully truthful. Right? Remember I challenged you guys, like, we got a lot of new people. So for those of you guys that were on the last call, don't answer this question. Does solar add value to your home, to a homeowner's home?
Yes.
Who agrees yes?
Not immediately.
Not
Not immediately.
Okay. A lot of people, anybody say no?
No.
Does anybody say otherwise? It depends.
It depends.
Is
Right.
the loan through the solar company, or is it through your bank
Okay.
or
So
another?
first and foremost, here's what we need to understand. We're gonna cover this.
Is it leased or is it owned? Are you
So
buying and leasing?
there's two categories: leased and owned. Okay. Lease 100% does not add value to a home. So if you're out there selling leased systems, no judgment, but please make sure you are being truthful. If you're holding, well, they didn't ask, so I didn't tell them, you're lying to people, right? Let's just be clear. If you know that leases do not add value to a home, well, they didn't bring it up as a concern, so I didn't handle it.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of that. You do what you want, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a fan of that. Now, we've got two categories, lease and own. Lease is 100%. I don't care what you say. They will not, do not, will never, unless something changes as of right now. So get that one out of the consideration. In ownership, you now have two subcategories. Okay? Full ownership, which means they don't have a loan. Okay? Or they have a loan. Okay? A solar loan, excuse me. right? So if you're doing like Sunrun, Mosaic, GoodLeap, or any of the traditional lending companies that lend directly to the consumer for the purpose of buying a solar system, then understand something. That scenario does not add value to a home. If they take out a home equity loan and the bank lends them an unsecured equity loan, and they take that money and purchase the system, in essence, they own the system outright. That scenario, or they pay cash for it, that scenario adds value to a home. Okay. And that's by the green certification guidelines instituted by the American Appraisal Institute. Okay. That's what trained appraisers go by. So we can have all these different beliefs. Realtors can tell you whatever the hell they want. Most of them don't even know about real estate. They shouldn't even be talking about solar. Okay. And if you're a realtor, hey, so am I. It's just my opinion based off of what I see in the marketplace. So take it for what it's worth. But understand something. We go by what the American Appraisal Institute goes by, because that's who gets trained. And understand something. The appraiser better be green certified if they're appraising a home that has solar on it. Because if they're not, I don't care what they say, they don't understand the guidelines properly. So when you're out there selling, make sure people understand the difference between, hey, leasing a system. Yes, leasing a system's cheaper. The Zoom is every week, Robert. Okay. Yes, the system is cheaper. There's a reason why it's cheaper. It's cheaper because the leasing company owns the system, and based off of the guidelines of the federal income tax credit, the entity that owns the system gets the tax credit. And if they're in an SREC state, guess what? The SRECs go to the person that owns the system, which is why they will lease you the system cheaper. Just like a car dealership, it's cheaper to lease a car because what you're paying is the depreciation. And then they get the car back minus the depreciation that you paid. Okay? So understand that. But when we look at bad perception, the bad perception of solar is not because solar's bad, but because we have a lot of bad solar representatives. This is an unregulated industry that, in my opinion, needs regulation. One of the reasons why I do what I do is more than just a calling on my life with my affiliation of business to what God has asked me to do, and I'm honoring that, but because I see some very bad practices, and consciously I can't sit back knowing what I know and seeing what I see. Okay, so we come here and I donate my time, I volunteer my time to make you guys better so that you can go into the field and make solar sales better. That's why I opened it up to the company I affiliate with, the company, anybody. There's people from multiple different companies here. Anybody's willing to come, because we're here to make the industry better. Okay, so when we look at a bad experience, when somebody says, oh, solar's a scam, right? Do we hear that? Okay, well, how is solar a scam? Right? And what you're going to find out is any of those responses allude to the fact that they have talked with someone who has solar. How do I know? Guys, I live on a corner, right? Right here on the left-hand side where my hand is. This is the side of my house, and that's a corner street. And my neighbors walk by my house all the time. I'm in the yards with my dogs, doing yard work on the weekends. And I have a lot of people that walk, and if you walk up that way on my house, you see my solar panels. My solar panels are literally right above me. My neighbors ask me all the time. They're like, yes, I see that you have solar. And I'm like, you're very persistent. Hey, how do you like your solar? I'm like, I love it. Really? Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. Oh, I've heard this. I've heard that. My neighbor has it, had a bad experience, blah, blah, blah. What are some of the bad experiences? Lying, solar salespeople. Ignorant, solar salespeople, right? What's the difference between lying and ignorance? Lying is you know and you still choose to lead people a different direction. Ignorance is you just don't know. A lot of you guys didn't know whether or not solar really adds value to a home. The majority of you were like, yes. Some of you said no, and one person said it depends. Okay,
They're always cutting
There's,
this thing.
there's issues. Oh, they still have a bill, right? Undersized. Guys, one of the biggest issues in Florida over the years of being a mentor for other people, and I found this two places, Florida and Texas. Why? Those are big markets. These companies hire these guys. They literally put them on planes. They drop them in the market. I like to call them airdrops. They drop them in the market. They door knock neighborhoods for like a month. They see people and then they move on. And I've been lied to, cussed at. I've done it. Whoever has their phone unmute, please mute. Where you are. There we go. Okay. So I've been yelled at, cussed at, the whole 9 yards when I've done a presentation. I'm being honest with people. And I'm like, whoa, time out, Tiger. Why are you so upset? You're trying to deceive me. How so? Your proposal is so much higher than the other two that I've got. Okay, well, let's bring them in. And you know what I found? These people are undersizing units, undersizing systems. 50% of offset. You want to know why? Because they know what kind of the threshold of what people are either willing to buy or they only have capability because of their company's affiliation with the lender will only lend but so much per project. But what I used to tell people is your system is undersized, and I'd have to educate them as to what that looks like. And they have no idea. So salespeople are playing off of the ignorance of the marketplace. So what you have to understand, concept to conversation here is conceptually, solar is not a scam. The scam was the salesperson. That's not a reflection on solar as a whole. Solar can't scam you. It's just panels with electrical wiring tapped into your home's electrical panels. Solar can't scam you. The person selling you solar scammed you. That's not a reflection of the value that solar presents to a homeowner. So is it important as to which solar representative you do business with? All right, I need every single person's head that's on video. I need their head shaking yes on this one. You need to wake up. Okay, shake your head. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's north and south, folks. Thank you. Okay, here's why. Here's why I do that to you. Victor, pay attention, buddy. This is important. Hey, Victor. All right, this is what happens, guys. You guys lose in the game of sales because you show up to people giving you free coaching and something else becomes more important. That's on you. All right, that's on you. But here's why I say this with the level of intensity that I do. Because you have to make this part of when you first connect with someone. If you are not qualified to sell your own deals yet, which means you have a mentor, you have to let people know before the mentor does the presentation that, hey, I want you to understand the person I'm going to link you up with, my business partner, he's going to go through your proposal. We're going to talk about the value propositions of solar, et cetera. But I want you to understand something. Who you buy solar through matters. It's an unregulated industry, and it's a sales industry. And anytime you have an unregulated sales industry, you have unscrupulous practice. And I don't mean to talk bad about any of my competitors, but I need you to understand, here's what's going on out there. There's people that are ignorant to the values of selling solar, just like some of you guys were this morning, but that's not on you, right? You at least made the decision to show up and learn. There are people who know and still choose not to share information about certain things relative to the value of solar, perceived value of solar for your home. And then there's people that are just flat out lying, deceiving people because they're just there to make a sale. They don't care about the repercussions because you're not going to get their cell phone and they're going to be in another market a month from now. Why is that important, guys? Go ahead, Pam.
I have a question on that. And so what makes me so whenever the question shows up, if they're unscrupulous, how do you know that I'm not? Like what makes me different?
Great. If you ask me that question, because I'm going to educate you. And I'm going to educate you on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
you're working math with the customer.
I'm sorry, Robert?
I like working if in that situation, I like actually going through and working the math.
Yeah.
You know, the production of the panel, the production of the inverter, just doing all the math with the customer, and just if I can get the proposal from the customer, you know, from the company that was that undersized their system, I'm going to show them the difference between 16 panels and 30 panels, and just do the math with them, and they'll see, oh yeah, there's no way that was going to create enough energy for me.
Yes. So guys, understand something. Selling solar is a mathematical conversation. It just makes sense when you understand the math. But the reason why I said, why does it matter that you educate people on it matters which sales representative they do business with, is because the reality is, if you think for a moment you're the only salesperson they're talking to, they're going to get multiple quotes. They may start out with you, and then they're going to tell you they're going to get other quotes. And what do you think? If you give them, let's say 104, 107% offset, that's kind of like, you know, where I like to be. If the utility company allows that, that's where I like to be, due to, you know, panel degradation, showing them that 107%, you start out 107%, it gives you some leeway for some extra usage, add some things to your home later down the road, but also offsets the panel degradation over the next 20, 25 years, so on and so forth. What do you think the next unscrupulous sales guy is going to come in and do? He's going to beat your price, not on the fact that he's got better equipment pricing or better lending prices. He's going to beat your price on an undersized system. You don't need 104% offset. In some systems, you don't, right? Where you have net billing, you guys understand the difference between net billing and net metering, right? Net metering is literally retail to retail. You know, what you get charged is what you get credited. Net billing is the situation I'm in. There's retail and wholesale. The utility company buys back at wholesale, but they charge you retail. So at night, when my electricity is my home's electricity is coming from the utility grid, they charge me 14.2 cents. When I've got full sun right now and I'm sending electricity back to the grid, they're only crediting me 3.8. That's net billing. Right? So 104% offset may not be the right system for them. Battery may be an option. Right? So these are the things you need to talk to them about. And we can reduce the amount of bad experiences by educating people on the front end. Okay? So if you're doing a sales where someone's not having a bad experience, you help them understand that bad experiences are legitimate in the marketplace. You want to know why? Because when they tell you we're going to think about it, what are they going to do? They're going to walk past Chris's house, and the next time they see Chris, they go, hey, I've been thinking about getting solar. What's been your experience with solar? And the second that bad experience enters their mind, you lost that sale. It's important to help people understand the bad experiences that are in the marketplace, because they're real. Does this make sense, guys? Any questions on this? All right, let's handle one more. I know we're about 8 minutes over. I'd like to invest a few more minutes with you guys. If you have to go, go. If you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. But I want to handle with you guys today the home insurance. Homeowners insurance is going to threaten to cancel me. Where are you guys hearing this? This is typically something you hear in Florida. Nope. Who are the people that had home insurance canceled?
It's Florida. It's also California. It's coming.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm just hearing the people questioning if they have to call their insurance company and will it cost them more money.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm hearing.
Okay. When you get a car, do you insure it? Of course you do. Because the fact of the matter is, if you get in an accident, one, the law states you have to have it. But even if the law didn't state it, you probably want insurance, because if you got into an accident, you don't want to have to pay thousands of dollars out of your pocket just to get the car back on the road, because that's what gets you to your job and everywhere you need to go without walking or riding a bike in this steamy hot summer, right? So insurance protects your interests in something that you've paid considerable money to, right? If you have a total loss of a car and you have no insurance, how do you pay off that loan? Because the second the loan is notified that it's a total loss, they do what? They accelerate the payments. They call it, it's called calling in the loan. So when someone goes, oh, well, I'm concerned my insurance is going to go up. Well, why wouldn't you want to insure a $45,000, $60,000 panel system? When I called my insurance company, I said, hey, here's a proposal for solar that I'm going with. I'd like to know, what the increased charge of my home insurance is going to be. They told me nothing. They said, it's not going to go up. I said, hold on a second, time out. You understand, like, I want to insure the system, right? And they're like, yeah, it's not going to go up. I'm like, so if a hurricane blows through here, my roof is gone, my panels are gone, like, you're not going to screw me, like, you never told us you had a solar system, that sort of thing. Like, I want to make sure my solar system is insured. Well, they told me why, but that's not important right now. But the point of the matter is, you have to help people understand you're buying an asset. Smart people insure assets. Write that down. Asset versus liability is one of the concepts that we have a conversation about. And so when they talk about insurance, that's the concept of the conversation. That's the concept you shape the conversation around, that you're buying an asset. Smart people insure assets. Rich people buy $50,000 rings, $1 million rings. They insure those things. They don't go, well, I didn't buy you a ring. I didn't buy you an expensive ring because I was concerned my insurance would go up. That makes sense? Okay. So will my insurance go up? More than likely, it's an asset you're going to want to insure. But understand something. Every insurance company is different. Some will view it as the fact that it will extend the life of your roof shingles because there's something that's going to protect them. So it reduces the speed at which your shingles will degrade. So they consider that an offset. Some look at it as equipment that they actually have to be responsible for should there be a loss of any nature. So your cost is going to go up with that. Has anybody ever predicted? Guys, I've seen a neighbor's house, by the way, flames shoot up their roof because they had a kitchen fire and it ran up the chase, and it literally, there was smoke coming out, and the second that the fire department came, they put a hole in the roof and the flames shot out the roof. Do you think those neighbors predicted that fire at any point in the future? No, people don't predict that stuff, but life happens. They had a kitchen fire. It started with a kitchen fire. They were cooking with grease and it got out of control and it shot up behind the wall. So to help people understand when they're concerned about their home insurance, the conversation that you have is, look, you're putting something on the roof that's an asset. I know you think life is going to go your way, but why would you not want to have this insured? You've got home insurance. You've got car insurance. Realistically, you should add an additional amount to your policy to protect your interests in that 40, 50, 60 plus $1,000 system that you're going to own. Does that make sense? Now, understand what people are dealing with in the marketplace is that some insurance companies will cancel them if they go solar. Here's why. Because there's some markets that insurance companies want out of, and they're looking for any reason to get out of them. Florida is one of them. Insurance companies are taking a bath with Florida. California is another one. For whatever reason, won't get into it, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, yes, it is realistic. Now, here's what you need to do. In sales, right? Just like when I coach real estate agents. Do you think real estate agents need a power team? You're welcome, Gabby. Do you think real estate agents need a power team like a home inspector, a lender, a surveyor, an attorney, title company? Those are power teams. Photographer, Michael Beerson, okay? Great photographer in the Baltimore area. right? Does a lot of work with realtors, right? Those are power teams that help make the process of selling homes what? More effective, more efficient. I would highly encourage you to build a power team of insurance agents that know and understand. I've got one on my team who's actually a partner of mine in solar. What does that mean? Last company I was with, he joined with me. He owns an insurance company, 𝐍𝐎𝐓 Insurance in Florida. Guess what? Every time I did a proposal and somebody was concerned, blah, 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 I would say, you need to speak to this guy. Okay, so start building relationships with insurance companies, right? And guess what? That guy who was my partner, he was basically in my downline. He's got solar on his own roof and he owns a 𝐍𝐎𝐓 Insurance company. So when people would say, you know, they had a concern about whether or not their insurance company is going to cancel them, blah, 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 I'd say, let me get you up with one of my business partners. He owns an insurance company and he has solar on his own roof and he lives in the state of Florida, which is the state that you live in. So build those power teams. What other concerns might there be relative to home insurance with regard to selling solar that we haven't covered up to this point? None. Awesome. Okay. So did we cover enough ground in these three objections that you guys feel comfortable? Now, you may not remember everything I said to you today, right? Hopefully you took notes. If you didn't take notes, I highly recommend you use today as a learning experience. Cool part is the link will be posted. You guys can go back and revisit and take notes the second time, but definitely show up next week and make sure that you guys take notes, because understand something. I teach concepts to conversation. Right? If you're showing up with the hopes that Chris is just going to, you know, donate his time and then give you the scripts for the objection handlers so that you can just have them and not memorize them, that's not this coaching. I'm telling you that right now. Because your ability,
question.
Hold on one second. Your ability to have a conversation with somebody makes you less salesy and more trustworthy. And know, like, and trust is the pathway to influence. It's a pathway to rapport that drives influence. Somebody knows you, you're good. Somebody likes you, you're better. If somebody trusts you, that's the best scenario to be in. The second you sound salesy and scripty, they may know you, they may like you, they won't trust you. And you will lose with them. Okay? Sales is not about memorizing scripts. Sales is about having the ability to be conversational about proposed value and concepts that people have trouble understanding value around. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So next week, we'll handle some of these other ones. Aesthetics, whether or not they can qualify, moving, too old. And then the weeks after that, I'm going to talk to you guys about some concepts of how to handle objections, to understand how to build some of these things into the early parts of your sales cycle so that you're playing from a proactive psychological standpoint and not a reactive. Understand something. When someone's like, oh, well, you know, my home insurance, well, you're in a reactive mode. Okay. If somebody says I'm too old and that's, you know, later down the line of your engagement with them, well, you're not recognizing that age might be an issue. And if it is, then you understand that nobody's too old for solar unless they've been giving dying days, right? I've only been given 4 months to live. Well, okay, solar's probably not right for you. But can you sell solar to a 55-year-old? Can you sell solar to a 60-year-old? Can you sell solar to a 65-year-old? Absolutely. That's where leasing may be a good option. Right? Not saying leasing's a bad option. I'm just saying there's certain clients it's better for than not. If you're going to sell a lease, help them understand. Do you understand by going with this lease, here's what you are subjected to. Right? I just consulted a real estate agent with her buyer that's buying a house in New Jersey that the house that they're buying has a leased system on. And when we were done talking, we talked I said, my job here, I'd love to sell you a solar system, because the guy reviewed the lease and he said, man, it's only going to cost me $1,400 to have the leasing company take this system off the roof, and I can buy my own and get the federal income tax credits and the SREX and blah, blah, blah. By the time that we were done, 25 minutes later, I told him, I said, I would stay with that lease, right? It's a good lease. It's a good system. Excuse me. I didn't say stay with the lease. I said, I would stay with that system. I would go back to the sellers and renegotiate the lease and say, hey, I've done my due diligence. I want to do some renegotiation. And I would negotiate to have them pay off that lease. I said, if they pay off the lease and you own it outright, you've got a good system. It's only 3.5 years old. You're going to get the SREX. And guess what? When you decide to sell the house later down the road and you own the system outright, that system is now going to add value to your home. And if you're a real estate agent, she was on there. I said, if you do this right, you're going to add massive value to that buyer, and he's going to love you for it.
How would they get the SREX?
Because they own the system.
Even though the system was originally a lease and now they buy it from them, they qualify for the SREX?
SREX are every year. You get issued one SREX for every 1,000 kilowatt hours that the system owns. As long as you are the owner of the system. So if ownership of the system transfers, ownership of the SREX transfers as well.
Nice catch. Got it.
Okay, I have a question, if I may. Thank you. So really, maybe the best way to pose this question is, can you help correct my thinking in this topic? I look for new people, leads who are qualified, and that, in my opinion, means both financially qualified, but also qualified in the sense that their life is stable enough from perspective of like all the things that are going on, projects, life events, family dynamics, different things in their life where even if they're open-minded to hear me out, but if their life is too overwhelming for them, now they become, even if they're financially qualified, they become unqualified. So how do I identify that and let go of those people proactively?
All right, real simple. Do you want to make any money in selling solar? Then get rid of those conditions. Because I'll tell you right now, the large majority of people are a hot mess today. To include me, right? I'm not gonna lie. If one of your qualifying questions as to whether or not you want to sell me solar is if I got my shit together, I'm gonna be like, bro, move on, dude. I got 3 kids, a wife, 2 dogs. Like half the time, I don't know where I'm at. My wife is running around with her hair on fire. Right? Like,
okay, so just keep at them. Keep at them, be patient with them, and
yeah,
keep working with them, keep following up.
Man, understand something. Whether somebody's got their act together in life is not a qualifying question to buy solar. Right? Like, here's what qualifies you to buy solar. Are you breathing? You are. Great. Are you sane and not under any sort of, mind-altering chemicals, drugs, alcohol, whatever, right? Okay, great. And
Hey, does this go any longer or no?
Is your credit score above what you're able to lend based off of your financial institution? If the answers are yes, okay, great. From the humanities standpoint, you qualify for solar. Now we're going to look at your relationship with your utility. This is what I tell people on a presentation. I'm not here to sell you solar, okay? I'm here to share with you the value propositions of why other people go solar, why I have solar on my roof, and to look at your situation relative to your relationship with your utility company. So we're going to look at your relationship with your utility company. We're going to look at your potential relationship with solar, and when we're done with that, we're going to compare solar to your utility company in 4 to 5 key areas. And at the end of that comparison, I'm just going to ask, all right, comparison number 1, X, Y, and Z, which one is better, solar or utility? And they'll say solar, they'll say solar, they'll say solar. And then I'll ask you, what do you think is the best educated decision for you and your family moving forward? Staying with your relationship with your utility company or initiating a relationship with ownership of solar to power your home? And logically, they should go solar, but not all the time, because sometimes it's just more comfortable. Some people don't like risk. But my point is, if you add all those other variables in, every time you add a variable, that's not really a determining factor whether or not they should have solar, you're reducing your sales potential exponentially.
So where I'm coming with that is there's a Chris Voss concept, HAPs versus ELVs. So HAP is an acronym for like hard, something like annoying, and basically could be lucrative, but it could be like blood money and frustrating. And then an ELV it's like the good client, you know what I mean? And then there's the continuum is what we're saying. So yeah. I'm looking for, a way to manage my own time and resources so that I'm not overextending myself to get those people who would theoretically go solar, but it's going to take me 125 visits at their home.
Well, let's be clear about something. If it takes you, numerous visits to sell somebody, you suck as a salesperson. I'm just going to say it the way it needs to be said. Okay. And that has nothing to do with the people. Okay. Out of all the systems I've sold and out of all the ones I've contracted and whatever the case may be over the last couple of years, only one have I had to, in theory, chase. And we didn't sell him a system. But I'll tell you right now, it had nothing to do with his ability to handle life. He had a husband who was never on any of the calls, the presentations. They were never part of the communication, but he was the resistance because he didn't like solar. And I kept telling him, get your husband on a Zoom. Let's handle this directly. Oh, no, I'll speak to him. And then finally I realized, I'm not chasing this guy, right? So I appreciate Chris Voss. Let's be very clear about something, okay? Chris Voss is not a salesperson. Chris Voss was one of the best FBI hostage negotiators. Now, there's things you can learn from Chris. I've read his books. I've been in his master class. I've met the guy, right? There's a lot that you can learn that can, cross-pollinate into sales, mostly his closing mentality. I love it's what I teach, close on no, right? Don't close on yes. His psychology behind it's fantastic. But when it comes to sales and you're talking about, all these other variables, some are legit when you talk about different, like when I sell high ticket coaching, right? Guys, some of the stuff that I teach you here is in my script coaching course, and that's minimum 10 grand. And I've taught hundreds of real estate agents my script coaching program over the years. Okay. They've got to drop 10 grand. There's no, okay, let's get you qualified for financing, blah, blah, blah. No. They've got to determine, can I write a check? Can I put this on a credit card? Can I do a direct deposit of $10,000? When you are dealing with that type of sale, yes, some of those things that Chris Voss talks about is very important. Okay. But when you have sales like real estate and solar, where they have the capability of purchasing a $40,000+, 20 plus 40,000, 60,000 system with financing, some of those variables aren't important. Now, one of the variables that is very important is the pool that you're prospecting in. Right? I've had people on my team in my previous company that were frustrated because they couldn't sell anything because all of their leads had credit issues. So you're hanging out with the wrong people. You're hanging out with the wrong people. Start fishing in a better, pool. Right? If you fish along the bank, you catch the small fish. If you fish out in the deep water with the right bait, you catch the trout, not the trout, the bass. You gotta, oh my goodness, Ramsey Clark.
I actually did that. Yeah, I did that. I went to the more qualified neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So all I would tell you is, man, you build your business how you want, right? You put whatever variables you want to put in place. I'm just telling you that the more variables as to whether or not you're going to sell somebody, that is that. And if you have to constantly go back, you got to get better at selling. You're not influencing people. They're not seeing the value. They're throwing their hesitations. I got to think about it. I got to talk to my spouse. I got to talk to neighbors. Can you provide me 5 people you've sold solar to? I've got to research your company. Yeah. Right? When you build trust and you show people the value of going solar, a lot of that stuff, that multiple step sales process just naturally takes care of itself. Right? Like I flat out will tell people, I guarantee you I'll beat whatever proposal you've got, pound for pound. Guarantee it. Doesn't mean I'm the cheaper, but I'll beat it. Why? Because I know how to stack value propositions. I know how to construct a conversation on the concept of the value that solar possesses. Ramsey's been part of my coaching for, quite some time in the past. He can attest to that, right? And again, I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying I know enough to share with you guys value that you can bring into the marketplace. Your ability to communicate through a conversation and show people the value will significantly reduce. Mentors, are any mentors out there struggling with, closing deals because the mentees just aren't teeing them up well? That's very common, right? And that's because they go out, oh, hey, has anybody talked to you about going solar? No, hey, get me your utility bill. We'll put a proposal together. Okay, great. And they do it because they like you. You're hitting up your warm market. And then they put it in the system and use it like they don't know anything about solar. Nothing was teed up for them. And you're like, oh, so awesome. Tell me, if you don't mind, Mr. Clark, share with me what's got you interested in going solar. And they're like, I don't know. Okay, what's brought you to this presentation today? Pam said she just got started in selling solar and she needed help, and so I gave her my utility bill and I'm doing her a favor and I'm showing up. And you're like, oh, okay. And you're like, all right, so let me educate you about, I don't need all that. She just said we'll go over the proposal. And you're like, you can't have that, right? Like, so for those of you guys that are mentors out there, you get your team on these calls. They're going to learn how to have these conversations and shape the value on the front end. It's going to make your job as a mentor that much easier. I promise you. Any questions from today?
Only if the mentor has that mindset.
Well, get a new mentor.
Good call.
Right? Business, guys. At the end of the day, it's business, right? Like, yeah, we have our, people that we like and, or our sponsor and that sort of thing. And guys, I put it to you this way. I've had people on my own team in the past be like, hey, do you mind if I try another mentor? Sure, dude. It's your business. I'm here to help you. Feel like, better aligned with someone else? That's okay. Somebody takes offense to you wanting to get a different mentor, they're in it for themselves. They're not in it for you. And what I would tell you is, if you're building teams, if you're out there, maybe you're not building a team and you're just a mentor in your company and your business model is, look, Jabari, okay? Jabari does a great job being a mentor. I've talked to Jabari over the years, and his business model 100% is, I'm a mentor, right? I'm here to mentor people. And that's awesome. That's his business model. If that's your business model, and you just want to make your money by being a mentor for other people, doing, mentoring their deals, understand something. The people that are going to use you as a mentor, I would get them on these calls. You're going to improve their capability of communication to help your job in closing the transactions. The more, some people don't like the mentee saying too much. They say, just get the bill, I'll take it from there. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Me, I want to know what value proposition are they coming to explore based off of how you hooked them. Hey, Chris, they're coming because, I talked to them about the potential savings, or I talked to them about the savings and, the SRECs and, federal income tax credit and how that could benefit them and, basically offset. If you're in Maryland, 50% of your system is going to be offset by incentives. If you're not selling in Maryland, man, what are you doing? Get out there. Go beat up Michael's backyard. What else? What other questions you have for me? I got a few extra minutes. We're doing it.
What was the link to the portal again?
𝐍𝐎𝐓 I'll put it in the chat.
Hey, Chris, do you mind me asking one more? So what would you open with at the door? Like, what are the first 2-3 lines?
What are you opening with at the door?
Okay, this is my latest and greatest, and I'm trialing this, right? It's not exactly, it's not exactly,
Let me what?
sorry, I'm at a Starbucks. So I go, hello, my name is Dion. I'm with Freedom Forever. Is now a bad time to talk briefly? That's Chris Voss, right?
That's
so then I go, I'm sure you probably think that I'm another fast-talking salesman who doesn't care about you, who just wants to talk you into something. Now, the reason for my visit is because most people are good. I can virtually guarantee you do not need what I have. Look, I realize I interrupted your day. Now, if you were to find yourself pausing and giving me just another moment, I invite you to imagine what I'm about to say is coming from a trusted friend who cares very much about you, who called you up and said, I just found out a major development that's afoot. This is urgent and important. You have to have this info for goodness sakes. Listen to me very carefully. So, Chris, we've been experiencing unprecedented inflation since about 3 years ago. And now, what have you noticed that has gone up in price and doesn't look like it's coming back down?
Can I be honest?
Everything?
Brutal.
Brutal. Wait, that's why I'm asking you, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, man. I know you well enough at this point to know that I can be honest and forward with you. Here's what I need you guys to write down. Write these two numbers down: 3 and 8. Ramsey, what's important about those two numbers?
How short you want to keep your pitch to.
Understand this psychologically. This is not Chrisology. This is psychology. Psychology of sales tells us you got 3 seconds to grab their attention, 8 seconds to pique their interest. So just like when I shared with you guys about, creating scripts, your purpose of creating a script is not to make a sale or book an appointment. Your purpose of a script is to pique someone, grab their attention and pique their interest. And so you were like, and all of that is based on the science of psychology that tells us that the attention span of a human being is 8 to 9 seconds at best. Mice have better attention spans than humans do today. So when you're going, you're saying all of it, better yet, can anybody tell me in a nutshell what he said at the door? Not a single person. Not a single person. What does that tell you? There's no retention. And you know what they're going? They're going, oh shit. This is why I don't answer the door.
I was told to pay attention. I didn't know what I was paying attention to.
Right. Okay. Okay. Two things. And again, this is covered in previous sessions, so you can go back and you guys can listen to the previous sessions. There's what I call the bookends of failure for every salesperson. The first one is the opening, and the second one is the closing. The opening is when you go, if you're calling on the phone, you go, hello, is Don Riley available, please? Click. You want to know why? Because know, like, and trust is the entrance of rapport, right? And the second you go, is Don Riley available, please? They automatically go, you don't know me. This is a sales call. I'm out. And if I don't do this now, I'm stuck into your sales pitch, and then I got to be an asshole to you later, and I don't want to do that. Okay. Is this Dawn? Right? Again, do you have a minute? No. How are you doing today? Shitty. Those are questions we do not ask. If somebody answers their door, guess what, Dion? They got a minute. We ask these impervious questions. You want to know why? Because we don't really know what to say, or we're not comfortable with what we really want to say. So we say a whole lot with the hopes that somebody responds. And really what you're doing is you're trying to elicit a response in those first 3 seconds, but it doesn't do anything for the sale. So you answer the door. Introduction is the most important.
Okay.
Right?
I'm writing.
If you're calling or knocking doors and you don't know the names and the information of the people you're knocking, you're just shooting darts blindfolded. Okay. So get a list, get homeowner's name. So if you know that, I don't know, one, Don, forgive me, I don't know if you're married, and if you are, I don't know your husband's name. I'm just going to make up a name, Dave, okay? So just play along with me. If my list says this house I'm about to walk up to is Dawn and Dave Riley, right? And a female answers the door, I'm going to go, Dawn, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Hart. I work with a company called Freedom Forever Solar. The reason why I'm knocking on your door is, right? Dawn. Now, Dawn, when somebody knocks on your door and you answer it, and I go, Dawn, immediately you're going, this person knows me? You've piqued their interest.
Yeah.
What did I tell you about the first 3 seconds? Pique their interest, and then over the course of the next 5 seconds, you've got to do, or you've got to grab their attention. You've grabbed their attention. Holy shit, this person knows me? I don't know this person. Let me hear what they have to say. And over the next 5 seconds is where you're going to pique their interest. That's where you go from your introduction. Dawn, my name is Christopher Hart. I always say my first and last name in a very formal manner. Why? I'm not trying to hide anything. Dawn, my name's Chris. I work with this company, Freedom Forever. Freedom Forever what? Are you saving kids from underground tunnels? Are you free? Are you a Mormon? Like, Freedom Forever what? What are you giving me freedom of? Freedom Forever. The name of my company is Freedom Forever Solar. The reason why I'm knocking on your door is. And then that's when you go into your value proposition. Hey, I've talked to some of your neighbors, and those that I've talked to didn't realize how much you're paying for your electricity to power your home. And I've been able to show some of them that they can save considerable amount of money in what they're paying to power their home just by switching to a more efficient, green, renewable energy like solar. Has anybody talked to you about how much money you could potentially save? Right? So if I'm going on the save value proposition, that's along the lines of something I would say.
You want me to try?
But
Should I try or no?
Not today. You can practice on your own after this.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
You've got, keep it short, simple, sweet, direct to the point, because you only got about 8 seconds. But if you're like, they're going to be like, oh, shit. Somebody please ring my phone quick. Cat scream, dog bark, kids cry, somebody something. House go on fire.
Take it easy a little bit.
No, I'm just telling you how it is, man. I'm not here to blow smoke up anybody's butt, man. This is free coaching. It just is what it is. Right? Because if it stings a little bit, then here's the reality.
Yeah.
You're going to look at it and go, I need to change. But if it works,
I'm motivated. I'm motivated.
if
I'm
it
changing.
works for you and you're getting bills left and right, then I'm just someone that's rambling and maybe it can help somebody else.
I can hear very well. It's coming along well. It's sinking in.
Any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions? Anything I can add value to? My man Ramsey, what you got these days?
Man, good to see you, brother. I had a space in my calendar and I was like, I gotta get on. Things are great. Business is going great. Music's great. And I was just doing some follow-up, going through my CRM and just remembering you. And then I was like, oh man, I can make it to the session. So I came on.
This guy's a rock star, guys. He's a rock star.
You're the rock star. That's why I keep coming back. Chris has given all this knowledge and he does it. He's been doing it for years and he's truly a man of God, a man that gives more than himself to others. And I think he's an amazing human being and I respect him tremendously. And the knowledge that I've gained to build the company, my brand, Melodic Solar, has come because of Chris through his coaching and trainings weekly, sometimes twice a week, talking to him. He's always there to reach out whenever I have a question, which most of you probably already know if you're on this call. So I just wanted to champion Chris one time and just, say thank you for everything you've done for me.
I appreciate you. Thank you for always showing up. And reason why I say he's a rock star is I don't evaluate people by their results. I evaluate people by their actions, right? What they're willing to show up, how vulnerable they are, right? And what they implement. And that's who Ramsey is. Seen him come a long way. So kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you. Those are people I like to hang out. What else? What can I help you guys with? I got a few more minutes. Take advantage of it.
Did this start at 12 or 11, Chris?
10:30.
10:30. Jesus, I had 12 on my calendar. I thought it started at 12.
2 weeks ago. That was our last session.
Oh, okay. So is it 10:30 every week now, or is it changing?
I'd make it 10:30. I can't promise, but Mondays is the target.
Okay, I'll check 10:30 first. My bad.
But I put it out in the Facebook group. It's in events and whatnot, so you can just reference it there.
Yeah, I'll do my due diligence next time.
What else? Anybody else? Questions? You guys want to do one more? You guys got me fired up, man. It's either coaching or you got or coffee or coaching. I'm not sure. You want one more?
I'm ready for another. I'm done. That sounds good.
What do you want? Ask and ye shall receive.
Let me read what we had wrote.
Come on, let's go, guys. It's not just Brandon. Anybody can ask. First come, first serve. That's how we play.
I approached my neighbor and there's a little bit of a language barrier, but I had asked him about solar and he was interested, but he said his friend's house caught on fire with solar, but they determined that it was a wiring issue, not necessarily the solar. His solar happened to have been on the house, so not a wire issue, but I can't get him past that. I don't think I ever will.
Next.
I grew up the son of
Yeah, that's what I said. Next.
But I always like to give people a shot at helping them because they just get caught up in stuff. It's just the way things are. I grew up the son of a hardworking blue collar father who was a master plumber, master HVAC, and in a construction company. And in the plumbing world, I've seen plenty of houses flood due to poor plumbing practices. That didn't negate plumbing service personnel were any less valuable than they were the day before a house flooded. Okay. What do I mean by that? If you love McDonald's fries, we'll just use McDonald's fries, for instance, right? A lot of people love McDonald's fries. You go on a road trip, you leave late in the afternoon, so you want to beat all the traffic. You're on the road 4, 5, 6 hours. You're like, oh, McDonald's. I recognize that. I go there all the time. I love their fries. I'm going to go grab some fries to eat. And it's 10:30 at night, and those fries are soggy, cold, stale, whatever. Does McDonald's automatically suck after that? Or do you just chop it up and you're like, probably just that restaurant, or probably the fact that it's 10:30 at
Time of night.
There's variables involved, right? So sometimes we got to help people see past what they process to help them realize, like, it's probably not solar. It was a wiring thing, because the reality is there's been plenty of homes that have gone on fire because of poor electrical practices, even with solar not being on the house. Had nothing to do with solar. The solar didn't cause the fire. The poor wiring installation.
Well, and the coincidence of it was his electric bill was $75 at the time. It was in the winter. And now his electric bill is $265, and he's come questioning, like, can you guarantee me it wasn't because of the solar panels? I said, no, I can't guarantee you anything. I can't guarantee you that it wasn't the solar panels. I don't know anything about the house.
You're going to pay taxes until you die, and you're going to die. That's all I can guarantee.
Yep.
Everything else is up for debate. And so if you need guarantees, like your insurance, your utility company, your electric company is not going to guarantee you that their electric's not going to cause your house to go on fire. Because quite honestly,
exactly.
Would have blamed it on the utility company because it went over electric wires, not from the solar. Solar is two things. There's a panel that absorbs the sun's energies, and through the UV rays, like, you guys have to understand what's going on. Sometimes you got to explain to people, right? And it causes electrons to do this, right? And that motion of electrons doing this creates energy. And it's constructed in what's called direct current, DC energy. And that energy, electric, travels down wires into a device called an inverter, and it converts it from DC electric to AC electric. And then it sends it to your main panel, which powers your home. That's the system. None of that causes fire. Improper wiring from a human being can cause issues that might cause a fire. So getting a company that has a reputable installer, like the company that we use, that would be something. So rather than, what you got to help people understand is, you don't want to deny an opportunity because of an issue. You've got to look at, how do we rectify the issue? And anybody who's a grown adult running around life today looking for, can you guarantee, is just running around life fear-based. Because I can't guarantee you that if your ass decides to go to the grocery store half a mile away, you're going to make it home alive. I can't guarantee you that.
Right. Thanks.
All right, last call. What do you got? Give me a good one, like a hard one.
I have I don't know that this is a hard one, but this is one. So I know you went over with Dion, like, how to use a verbiage on door to door, but would you change anything different from making cold calls or, that kind of thing? So phone conversations versus door knocking.
Same structure. I've got something I teach, 5 essential elements of a script. 1 is your opening, 2 is your introduction, 3 is your value proposition, 4 is check down on your value proposition, 5 is close. So your opening, Dawn, Pam, Mike, right? Ramsey, we've done this before in the past where you got to be emphatic. You got to talk to them like you know them. Ramsey, right?
Have a little bit of energy.
It's called tonalities and inflections. Energy, right? So your introduction is how you introduce them into this sales process initially. And it's by 1, saying their name. Well, what if their name's wrong? Well, what if? We can what if things all day long if you'd like. I'm going to take a shot, right? Eminem says you only got 1 shot. Do not miss your chance to throw. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime, right? If you're more worried about missing your shot, what's happening is you're worried about you're playing not to lose versus playing to win. You answer that phone, you open that door, I'm playing to win. If I call you Pam and your name is Dawn, you're going to correct me and I'm going to just transition quickly. Oh, my apologies. I had, well, that was the old owner. Okay, great. Your name is? Who's asking? My name's Christopher Art Solar Company. And I've been talking. Now I'm automatically into my script. See, I don't play the fear-based what if, right? I play the ability to be intuitive on the spot. I know my shit. We're going to have a conversation. And I go in confident. Right. So the introduction is how you address the person, and then how you introduce yourself. That's important. Why is that important? Because if you want to talk to someone and you want them to trust you, tell them who you are and who you affiliate with. All this stuff on the doors, like don't say solar because they'll slam the doors. If they're slamming doors in your face because you say solar, your script sucks. You just got to understand it. Your script sucks. Okay, so where you get good is, you're not like, hello, is Dawn available, please? Click. Yeah, this is Dawn. Who's calling? Dawn, this is Pamela Wilson with said company. How are you doing today? Oh, Jesus. They don't really care. You don't really care. Because the second they go good, you go, that's great. Hey, the reason for my call, cut that slack out, man. There's nothing valuable to the sales process by asking somebody how they're doing. But what I will tell you is from being a person who's been on the phone for many years, over the years, when you ask how are you doing, people are going to tell you. And people aren't doing good today. I promise you that. Mental health is worse than it's ever been. Financial situations are bad. And now you're pissing them off because you called them and they gave you a chance and you're a salesperson. They're mad. They're going to tell you. And if you're lucky, they're just going to go, good, how can I help you? Hey, the reason for my call is cut that slack out. Dawn, hey, my name's Christopher Hart. I'm with Freedom Forever Solar. The reason for my call is, and that's where you go into your value proposition.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. And then so how you go into the fourth element of the script is when you check down on value, would you be interested in seeing how much money you can save? Or whatever value proposition you can say, would you be interested? I'm not trying to close them, just saying, do you have an interest? And if they're like, yeah, I'd be interested, great. Here's what I'd like to do. Let me get a copy of your utility bill. That way I can analyze how much you're paying and I can construct a proposal that can offset the usage that you're typically accustomed to in an annualized 12-month period of time. And I can create a proposal and we can get on a Zoom and I will show you the comparison of your relationship with your current utility company versus the opportunity of exploring how much money solar can save you. Would it be a crazy idea for you to get me your utility bill this afternoon? That's closing on no. No, that's not a crazy idea. Great. Right? Those are my 5 essential elements of a script. And that constructs the conversation based off of the concept of whatever value proposition you're going to be communicating. The challenge for a lot of solar people is they don't know the value of solar. They don't. There's people that will show up to you watch, pay attention. I'm going to tell you every freaking week. All right, what we're going to talk about today is going to all be based off of the 4 value propositions of selling solar. Give me one of them. It should be a damn fight for people to come off of mute and say 1 out of 4. In my opinion, the first 5 seconds I ask that question, give me one of them, I should be hearing voices, and all 4 come out at the same time. But people play not to win versus playing to lose. Excuse me. They play not to lose versus playing to win, which tells you that's a confidence issue or an ignorance issue. They just don't put in the work to be able to effectively communicate. You can come up to me anytime. You can wake me up in the middle of the night. Chris, tell me the 4 value propositions to selling solar. And I might choke slam you for waking me up, but while I'm choking you out, I'm going to tell you the 4 value propositions. If you have to look up into the sky like God's going to help you, God's like, I helped you. I brought you someone into your life that taught you. You didn't do any work thereafter to try and memorize it. I'll just tell you flat out, don't show up. Because if you can't learn the basics for value propositions or whatever propositions you think exist, I don't care what they are. I just teach you 4 because those are 4 that I think are very easy for the average salesperson to go into a market and communicate. There may be more. If you have more, great. But if you can't quickly tell me why somebody should buy solar, you ain't selling anything. You're wasting people's time, honestly. And I'm saying that to the group, not to Pamela, saying it to the group of salespeople. Same thing with real estate agents. Give me the most experienced real estate agent. I'll rock their world in 30 seconds. I ask them one question. What do you sell? I sell real estate. No, you don't. I sell houses. No, you don't. How do you know? Great, sell me a house. Well, I can't. See, then you don't sell houses. Sell me a real estate. Sell me a piece of land right now. I can't. Then you don't sell real estate. What do you sell? That's why I tell real estate agents, people don't buy and sell houses, they buy and sell lifestyles. You got to know what you're selling, folks. There's a difference between understanding and knowing. How many of you guys, what's 2 plus 2?
Quattro.
Quattro. She is Japanese for 4. Un, deux, trois, quatre. Quatre is 4 in French. I can say 4 in a number of different languages. But here's what the reality is, when you know something, you can easily communicate. Understanding is, yeah, I got a general idea. I can kind of maybe talk about it. Don't have a whole lot of, that's understanding. Problem with solar is there's too many people that understand solar. They don't know it.
Makes perfect sense.
Exactly why when you ask a group of solar salespeople, does solar add? Absolutely it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And someone was like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, yes, it does. Then they're all sorts of confused. Talk to real estate agents. Does solar add value to a house? Absolutely not. You ask 10 real estate agents, does solar add value to a house? You're going to get 10 no's. Well, how do you know? Because every single transaction, it's been nothing but problem. Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you a green certified realtor? No, then your opinion doesn't matter. Those houses that you sold, was the appraiser a green certified appraiser? Well, I don't know. Then that's why you're ignorant. Now, if you're in a market where people are selling solar and there's homes that have solar, like mine, like 15 other people in my neighborhood, and you want to sell a Mark Cummins, you might want to go get green certified, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor. And if you're going to take a listing with solar, you might want to make sure that you let the bank know that they need to choose a green certified appraiser. Because the green certification establishes all the guidelines. Now, how many of you guys knew this? Okay.
From the last training.
From the last training, right? Ramsey probably knew from one of previous trainings. And same thing with Michael.
I did not.
Rockstar and somebody told you. But my point is the few and far between know this, and yet it's critical information for your industry. Guys, I'm not talking at you. I'm talking way past you because you guys are actually here. You're showing up. You're still 33 minutes. We're an hour past the end time. Okay. Which means you still want to learn, and I'm still going to give it to you. It's just how I play. But I want you to understand, if you know this stuff, this is how you separate yourself from everybody else. Okay, so one of them was moving, right? I wrote them down, okay? One of them was moving. What the hell does it matter moving? Pack your shit up and go. Yeah, but what happens with the panels? Well, you got a couple options. You can pay it off, or somebody can take over the loan. Would you like to know how that solar system you're going to put on your roof could possibly add thousands of dollars to the value of your home? So if you're thinking about moving in 5 years, do you want this solar system to be a problem, or do you want it to be more value to the bottom line of your home's value? What do you think people are going to say? What's more important? The solar
The latter
system
for sure.
being $30, $40 cheaper than a purchase, or it adding $8, $10, $15,000 to your home's value? Because the calculated rule of thumb, write this down. For every $20 you save somebody, it adds how much? Brandon, you were here last time. Do you remember?
Is it $400?
Oh, you're breaking up.
20.
For every $20
$400.
I think he said 400.
That's what I said. That is what I said.
Okay. So basically, if you save somebody $400 a year, you've added $8,000 to their home's value if they own the system outright. Because the regulation states that if they own a system that's financed basically as a UCC1 commercial equipment, which is how they finance these systems, the financing company can remove the equipment from the property if they default on the loan, and that's the stipulation. If the equipment can be removed because of default, then it will not add value to the home's value on a sale. These are the things that are going to separate you as a solar salesperson. I don't care what company you're with. And if you're selling on the value of your company, you suck. Because it ain't about your company. It's about you and what you know. The company you affiliate with has 100% to do with how it helps you sell more solar. If you decide to change companies, it doesn't make your other company bad. It just means you found a better opportunity. It doesn't mean that if you're with a new company and they have a proposal with somebody from the other company and you're comparing companies, wrong. Wrong. Unless there's a hard line like, look, my installer's better. Well, how do you know?
So I have a question. If someone tells me, so I already have 3 proposals already, I got all the information I need, I just haven't made a decision. What do you say to that?
Great, let's look at them.
Oh, no, I don't have time. I already got all the information.
All right, there's one of your core 4 objections. Remember I told you time, money, spouse, interest?
Yes.
You don't have time. We're talking about $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 here. Is it really about time, or you're not willing to reveal what those other things are? Because here's the reality, Miss Gabby. I want the best for you. And if one of those proposals is better than what I can offer you, then I'm going to let you know to go with that. Your concern is me seeing those and me playing some sales trick games. That's not the game that I play. That may be the game that those other guys play, but I'm not going to cut the, I'm not going to cut my numbers just to try and beat somebody on numbers when I know the value that I offer. So if you want someone that's an honest, reputable representative that sells solar to honest, reputable homeowners, I'd love to go over those with you and show and educate you on the difference of the proposals, because I guarantee you all three are going to be completely different. I guarantee that. And the problem is you don't know enough about solar to know what's good and what's not. You're just looking at a number. And I guarantee you 2 of those proposals are from salespeople, and they know what you know and what you don't know, and they're going to play off of what you don't know. I'm here to help you. If you'd like for me to help you, I'd be happy to go over all 3 proposals and educate you on the difference. And then that way you can make the best educated decision for your family. If you don't have time for that, I completely understand. And we probably shouldn't move forward with my proposal either. I'll pull the takeaway in a heartbeat. Because again, I'm playing. Other people won't do that because, oh, okay, well, I'll just give you my proposal and hope. I'll follow up with you in a couple of days. And then play some baloney stuff like the turf guy. I'm thinking about getting turf in my backyard. And I told him I'm going to get a couple of proposals. Literally the next day. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, my boss, my sales manager just told me that we have the turf material it's on sale. It's $1,000 off and shipping because we met our quota. Oh, just magically the next day we can take $1,200 off the total price. Funny how that works. That's the game salespeople play. Look, guys, here's what I'm trying to understand, okay? My personality, I'm direct to the point. I don't play games. I won't mislead you. It's not what I'm here for, all right? I told you at the beginning, I won't sell you anything. I'm not going to sell you anything. Ramsey's been in numerous of my coaching, paid coaching, free coaching, different marketing, free coaching, the whole 9 yards. Have I tried to sell anybody anything, Ramsey?
Nope.
Okay. I moved companies. I tried to invite Ramsey. He said he was comfortable where he was at. Did I bother you ever again?
Nope.
Okay, that's how I play. What I tell you is my bond. But what I am also going to do is I'm not going to BS you guys because we don't have time to waste. I'm not one of those coaches that adds cream and sugar to my coffee. And I'm not going to add cream and sugar to my coaching either. Because I think we live in a society today where people just want to know the truth. Okay, people just want to know the truth. Just tell me what I need to know and let me go about my way and figure out how I implement that into my business. How you communicate what I share with you, that's on you. I'm just going to give you the content. Okay? You show up, I'll give it to you. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm the best. There might be other people that are better than me. I just don't see very many opportunities of people willing to give you their time and knowledge for free. So take it for what it is. Sure. All right. Anything else before we jump off?
For sure.
All right, good. When people go silent after you spend this much time, then it means that their brains are in deep thought mode. So I've given you enough to keep your brains busy. Here's what I'm going to encourage you. Right, as soon as you get off, write down what's going on in your head. Don't think you're going to remember tomorrow, this afternoon, next week, etc. Brain dump what's going on in your head. I know you always take notes, Ramsey. Okay. The process of you writing stuff down, 1, when you hear it, 2, after you've heard it, now you have time to actually write it down. It reinforces the neural pathways that becomes your know, K-N-O-W. The more know, or excuse me, the more you know, K-N-O-W, the less know you will get, N-O, in sales. The more you know, the less no's you get. The less you know, the more no's you get. Okay? Remember I told you, there's a difference between understanding and knowing. Knowing is the capability to communicate it at any time. Okay. Here's what I'll leave you guys with. When I offer my coaching out to people, and I'm not offering it to you, that's not what I'm trying to do. I want you to understand this one concept. I tell people, I teach people how to influence anyone, anywhere, anytime, any situation. And I guarantee it. Okay. So when I sell them or try and sell them my coaching and it's $10,000 plus, right? I guarantee it. If you don't believe what I've taught you, you can influence anyone, anywhere, anytime, give you your money back. It's a big, big risk when you sell high ticket coaching. And I've never paid anybody their money back. Never. Better yet, no one's ever asked for it. Okay? So I tell you that, and I don't brag. I want you guys to understand what I'm here to teach you is those concepts. And if it applies in real estate, it applies in solar. Cool. Plan is each week, right? It's either going to be Monday at 10:30 or Monday at 12, just depending on, sometimes I have doctor's appointments with the VA that Monday 10:30 slot has to be taken because certain doctors I have to meet with regularly. So if you're not in the Facebook group, the Facebook group is Solar Sales Scripting and Dialogue, something like that. Hit me up on Facebook if you can't find it, get it to you. The recordings are in my personal portal. That's 𝐍𝐎𝐓 and all I do is just house the recordings there. Okay, so you're not being put into a funnel or anything of that nature. So anyway, put it on your calendar. Keep an open mind to what we're sharing with you. Make sure you guys are doing your part Monday to Monday. Study. Okay, because here's how I operate, and Ramsey can attest to this. The more you do, the more I'll give you. Right? The more you show up, the more I show up. I promise you that. I don't care if there's 4 people, 2 people, as long as those 2 people want to learn, I'm here for you. You stop showing up, that's on you. Everybody stops showing up, I stop showing up. But I ask people to at least make it look like you are gaining something from this, so I believe it's valuable for my time. God didn't ask me to do this just to share how much I know. God has asked me to do this to help make other people better. If you're not doing your part, then I'm not going to do my part. Sound good? Guys?
Yes, yes. Something that would be helpful, I don't know if you have this or not, is based on states. I don't know if you have value propositions that would make a difference certain states or not, but that may be a conversation, is, you know, how to speak into the language for the different areas.
Really all that is just taking the value propositions and seeing how it applies to the different dynamics of each state. That's something you can do on your own. I mean, I've given you 4 value propositions.
Okay.
It's hard, right? So anyway, it's been an absolute honor to spend time with you, serve you. God loves you. So do I. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Record.